Hello, anybody, somebody, nobody, whoever may ever never hear this. This is Siegfried Alexander Faust, the Wift, recording another session on the little podcast, amateur hour crap I'm doing. I might have some people join me. I'm not sure. Uh, One or two people sounded interested, but they're not here yet, and it's time to start. So, I was planning on talking about comics today. Comics. So, what are comics? Graphic novels, stilled images, telling in some way, shape, or form a story. They've been around for a long time. Some of the more recent versions of comics, you could even argue that, graphic imagery to tell a story, caveman days. But I think that's a bit overselling it. I'd say that it's more fair that the political cartoons in America are probably the earliest form of comics. I could be mistaken, but that's what comes to my mind personally. Anyway, why are they popular? They tell a story. They've been around for long as hell, and get rid of that. And hell, just the comic industry, which is where I'm going to mostly be sticking to, because I think that's the core of the subject matter, has been actually back and forth for many decades. Many decades. When there was introduction of color into comics, because for a while there was no color. It's one of my not favorites, but something I really enjoy is Batman berating Robin for not understanding and being an idiot. I don't know. I think it was maybe Tim Drake, where there's a purple Batman. There's a purple, yellow, pink Batman. There's like 7 different colored Batmans. He's just a different color for every day of the week. It's to try and incentivize people buying comics and stuff. And it was really weird. And it also goes into why there's a gray Hulk and a regular green Hulk. I can't remember. Joe Slim. Joe Slims, I think, is the name of the gray Hulk. So comics have been colorized and not. They've used as political propaganda, and then they became a source for just children's entertainment, and then for adult entertainment to tell stories for more mature settings. But for the most part, I say it's fair to say that most comics are aimed at kids. Some kids can enjoy the adult comics, but not many adults enjoy the most mature comics. And then, because of that, we had world building of the Marvel and DC universe, along with Dark Horse-based comics and many other comics, Sandman, and it can go on and on. But those are the big giants, I would say. And of course, again, there's many others, and that's not counting, again, manga and graphic novels. Graphic novels really is weird in between, and manga is still mostly, almost all does the black and white manga/manhwa, Korean and Japanese comics. But they're more like giant. Well, I'd say instead of the paper thin, 20-page to 30-page colorized comic issue, they do usually a volume, and a volume is 90 to 120 pages, black and white in small book format. So if someone was to get interested in graphic novels, manga, and comics, I'd say definitely check it out. Again, they've been very successful over the years. However, not for the developer. If the creator of a story, it gets really popular, seriously pops off, then they make bank. But, if it's a single person writing a new comic for DC, they're not going to make bank because they're going to sell the rights to DC. They are owned by DC. Same with Marvel. And then manga artists will get picked up and signed into contracts. It's very few. It's the top tier anime / manga. Probably maybe top 20 have made bank, but everyone else, no way. Most comic artists, graphic novel, and mangakas, they actually don't make that much money. It's unfortunate. They, if they're successful enough and they work long enough, they can get by. But it's not like a job where it's you just do it so well and you can work 1 day of the week, or a few days in the week. No, you have to work a full week. So that kind of goes into the strengths and the weaknesses. So again, most people know about DC and Marvel. And I'm glad that the comic industry has made people, along with partnership with Disney and Warner Brothers, getting off their butt to make more content for people to be entertained and get into the fandom as well, because it's very good. It's very good. Um. Oh, hey man, didn't know if you could join me. I don't think it would. No worries. I don't know if the recording's gonna pick you up or not, but hopefully it will. So, Patrick, this is Patrick. You can say hello to the recording. Yeah, I don't think we've ever actually talked over voice.
Hi, hello. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, you doing all right, man? You having a good day so far?
I don't think so either, huh? First time. I'm good. Just got off work, so then I saw the time and I was like, "Oh, I'm late. Let me get there."
No worries. I already started a bit of a rant. Just going over some general stuff. So I branched in from talking about like what is comics. I've started to get you caught up. That probably started as political cartoons, because just saying like what is graphic imagery, I feel like dating that back to caveman days would be a bit too much. And so if we go to political cartoons, and from there we could branch out to say graphic novels and manga manhwa as well would also count as comics. I'm not really going to like talking about like Infinity War. Like I could do a whole like hour-long discussion about any comic story, but just like what are comics, or if you got like favorite moments and whatnot. I already talked about how they've influenced society. I'm kind of this is where I'm at now. Influenced society in many different ways, into media, toys, etc. I made a lot of money, but I also said that unless you seriously pop off, if you say start writing a comic for DC and Marvel, you ain't making bank. You ain't making shit. And if you're a manga or manhwa artist as well, unless your story extremely pops off, even if you get a TV deal, you're still not making bank. You're still working 5 days a week, which is unfortunate because they've influenced so many people in the art industry and just childhoods, etc. And it's they still have to work a full week, but tis life. Do you have any fun comic moments or other things you'd probably want to pitch on strengths, weaknesses, or what you think is a comic or not?
Well, just backpacking what you were talking about earlier, how it was influenced on political agendas. I remember back in the day, for like World War II and stuff, Captain America's fighting Asian depicted men with fangs, or Nazi army soldiers with fangs, and made them to really look evil, just to it's I guess it's that American propaganda, like, hey, these guys are really bad. And that really influenced things, whether it was Captain America or the X-Men fighting these people, or Wonder Woman, Superman. And it really gave that influence to the people, especially kids in society, of being impressionable from that kind of thing.
I completely agree. I didn't go into it, but it's been used by multiple countries in later wars, etc., to spread propaganda and to promote nationalism in whichever country it's in. And it was even been dropped over into by America into some other enemy lines just to like show our propaganda, etc. And it's just another like psychological element. And I kind of prefer the art side of it. That's where I take my stance. So like I don't like it that's used. I understand that nothing life's free. So what happens. They got to make money, and if they get subsidies or to promote patriotism, it's not like how dare you be patriotic. But I prefer that it's just like from the Olympics, just completely separate church and state. Just it's not relevant to politics at all. It's its own art thing. But I think it'd be also idealistic to just expect that the author's biasms would never come into play into the storytelling or for the characters and world building.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got no, you said it so well. I got nothing for that.
So again, Warner Brothers has picked up the pace now on some of the comics and stuff, and then there've been more TV shows coming out. And I'm very happy to branch out. For anyone that doesn't know, I highly recommend watching the animated DC content. So all the Warner Brothers DC animated content is really good. The Marvel anime content does not match up. However, for the most part, I think it's a fair statement, subjectively, objectively, that the Marvel live action content is really good. And the DC, whilst the newest Zack Snyder cut I think was really good, overall does not match up to the quantity of good Marvel content that's out there. But I don't think people watch as much the animated content, but it's definitely worth checking out. Along with if people aren't going into web comics and checking out all the mangas in the world, there's really great narratives. Some great stories actually have no words too. There's great action. There's different genres for different tastes. It's a booming industry and it can kill a lot of time and broaden horizons. And it's great storytelling because it's not necessarily even people. You can have aliens, animals, sentient rocks, whatever. That's the beauty of comics, that you can tell stories in a lot of crazy ways.
Yeah, and I think that for the DC stuff, that for the animated, I guess there's still that stigma that comics are for kids, and that stigma goes with the cartoons. Whereas
Yeah.
Marvel, they're really approaching that what 20 through 40-year-old base that read comics as kids. That, hey, here's live action, here's in your face. I mean, Winter Soldier and Falcon last night's episode was amazing. So
Ooh, I
just
haven't seen it
everyone
yet. No
keeping
spoilers.
no spoilers, spoiler free, but just keeping all that content pushing in your face, whether it's through
Yeah.
streaming or through art, just stay that war of staying relevant to the people. It's kind of interesting seeing how DC and Marvel's facing those, especially with COVID, that they don't have movie theaters to push their product anymore. Action figures and toys aren't the way to push product anymore, like how they did X-Men, or how Star Wars did figures. But it's all little content that they could push into your face, whether it's through Netflix, through Hulu, Disney Plus, what have you.
There is a really big streaming war going on, definitely.
Hmm.
I wonder how much longer this is going to be a thing, or where we're going to go from here, if we're going to go back into toys at some point in the future. Because that definitely was the market for a while. Because I didn't touch on this, but besides the artist not making much, one of the reasons for that was that a comic issue would, back in the day, they were known as like 99 cents comics, and most of them still are about 99 cents. They're about $1 to $3, and so from that you have all the production costs and then all the legal costs and shipping, etc. And so it's not McDonald's selling a hamburger makes more than a comic issue being sold. It's unfortunate. Let's see, some great
And,
comic moment. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
go ahead, go ahead. Great comic
No,
book. Go ahead.
I was gonna go into like some comic books and story recommendations or funny moments and stuff. Not right now, girl.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a dog here. Okay, so let's see some interesting comic things. So, Wolverine. Sorry, was it? No, yeah, the Punisher was made to combat Wolverine in the sense that. Oh wait, am I thinking of Lobo? Oh shoot. No,
Oh.
yeah. Sorry. The character of Lobo in DC was made to be DC's version of Wolverine and the Punisher for Max type comics to have graphic violence, and he never did as well. But goddamn, he's far more funnier than Punisher or Wolverine combined. If someone wants mature comics in the Marvel setting, you could check out the Max series of Punisher. I think it's like the first or second issue. Had some really graphic content that was I kind of miss that, because something that's joked about when you get enough tropes in the system is that, like, at the end of the day, it's just punching and kicking. Everyone gets up or gets resurrected later. Nothing ever changes. And so what was the point of any of it? And so it's just a bit of a running gag, because Superman will get brought back. He cloned, revived. He's a robot, a wizard, time paradox, a parallel universe.
Another universe.
Yeah, and same with Marvel. And it's trying to draw in the reader so they don't think about that, because it happens all too often. So there's some mature stories where people stay dead, and I like that for the Max series of Punisher, which I would recommend. Some funny moments is all the Deadpool comics, including the old ones, are pretty good and
Of
funny
course.
content. If somebody is looking for a laugh, that'd be my highest recommendation. Some overarching stories. I guess on a side note, so I mentioned Dark Horse Comics earlier. Dark Horse, they have a few comics, one of which is the Alien series. Because the Alien series comics are still going, and there's some great Alien comics for all the Alien Earth Wars, different types of aliens, Predator stories. So if anyone ever was into that, they're not owned by DC or Marvel. It's its own separate comic line, and there's a few other comic lines that aren't as well known. So going on to DC Marvel. For DC, there is the War of Light is a really great storyline, and you can read the Green Lantern comics and just stick with that, or the Green Lantern Corps. And it will go through all the different rings of the emotional spectrum, going into Blackest Night. Almost all the characters die, and you have Scarecrow with a yellow lantern ring, and he makes flying fucking monkeys. And by the way, you can cuss. Just try to not do anything that'll be like get this thrown off of YouTube. He uses a yellow power ring to make flying fucking monkeys from Wizard of Oz to fight undead zombie Superman and characters. It's ridiculous and it's hilarious. So it's a great story. Again, everyone's pushed to the limit. It has good origin content for DC. There's the War with Darkseid. Recently, there's a Dark Knight Metal series, which is fan-fucking-tastic, which Batman...
That's what I keep hearing.
Oh, you need to check it out. It's a bit long now because they continued it past the Dark Knight Metal storyline portion, but they tie it later into Dr. Manhattan and the Watchmen being tied into the DC universe, and it's really good. So it's a continuation later on of the Watchmen storyline. And it's like, to sum that up without giving away stuff, what if Batman turned evil and he got superpowers? So he's not just rich with prep time, and he just demolishes everyone, and it's a great story. So those are things that could happen in DC. Something's coming up with Marvel, if people haven't looked it up or gotten bored, would be the Secret Wars storyline, which is going to be the next arc for they're trying to set up for Marvel. Is the Secret Wars story, which is going to have some like universes colliding, big bads of the universe, both in and outside of the universe, coming in to fuck shit up, and they're going to make Thanos look like nothing. Overall, between DC and Marvel, it's a running gag, both in the comics and in the media production. That
Cinematic world.
Yeah, sorry. Cinematics, thank you. That DC is a bit darker. And people say, no, you don't like dark stories? And there's a gag. No, it's too dark. I can't see anything. So DC is a bit more set in our reality. There is magic, crazy advanced technology, but there's far more of that in universal characters. In Marvel, they have a bigger landscape, I'd say, for the universe than DC does. But both are very good. Both are worth checking out. Both have very similar characters that can be argued to be very strong or match blow to blow with each other. Let's see. Another good thing with Marvel, besides the upcoming Secret Wars for the media, so they already had Infinity Gauntlet, but the Infinity Gauntlet story happens about 2 to 3 times. There's a Civil War. Something I always talk about is how they did, in my personal subjective opinion, an amazing job in Captain America 3 with the Civil War story, because the comic had hundreds of characters. It was massive.
There was so many people involved.
Yeah, it could not realistically be done in media format to be accurate. So someone could say, oh, you didn't accurately portray the story. When it's like, yeah, and you're not wrong. But realistically, that would have just been too hard to do. Even with Disney's budget, it just would not happen. And you'd have a film that's long as hell that wouldn't possibly air with just being Captain America. Like, Captain America is not even a major character in the Civil War. In regards to the entirety of events. I'll play with you in a little bit, girl.
And then after everything of that, there's still, after Secret Wars, there's still Civil War 2 that we have to go through. I mean, we still have to be introduced to the Inhumans and the X-Men.
The Inhumans, all the X-Men, yeah.
Come back. Because Tony Stark's still your main antagonist in the second Civil War, in all the Civil Wars.
Yeah, and then there's also the all the Fantastic Four, which is coming up as well. There's the Fantastic Four movies coming out, which will be good. Hopefully, they won't flop like every other one has beforehand. I'm looking forward to it. I'm never the biggest Fantastic Four fan. I like all the stuff they go through. To me, I think Marvel, the two, I feel confident saying this, the two character groups, technically, that go through like the most powerful, biggest, baddest characters, if you follow their story, is Doctor Strange and Fantastic Four. Because between the two of them, they have met the most powerful beings in the universe first within their comic lines. you can actually follow the Fantastic Four's comic, and you will, within that comic, basically get a good grounded idea of everything that's happening in the main continuity of the canon Marvel timeline that you're from when you're reading it. Unlike other character, X-Men, they're always doing stuff. They won't necessarily be involved with everyone, but Fantastic Four, you'll get a bit snippets here and there of everyone else. And
Yeah,
again,
that's Fantastic Four is so centralized that everyone needs either Ridge Richards' help because he's so smart, and even when he has a son, he's like the most Omega character of
Franklin Richards,
all.
yeah.
Yeah.
I could talk about Franklin Richards for an hour.
Yep.
And so, yeah. Let's see. Again, this isn't scripted. The idea is just strengths, weaknesses, funny stories, or why it's popular in comics. So we talked about the origin, when it's been used IRL, different ways, how it's expanded. I guess, okay, so the strength and weakness is because they can also deal with mature things, or like they literally will fight, the devil. Some people of different religions or different cultural backgrounds won't necessarily approve of certain comics. Along with then, how you mentioned and brought up, they can be used for political means. And so you might not want your comics to be focused and or tainted, however you want to word it, if you're for it or against. Political or religious involvement, but that's a thing that does impact it as well, because they have heavens and hell. Hell, in DC, one of the most powerful characters actually is Lucifer, and he's not even a bad guy. It's hilarious because they show it in. I responded to a forum question recently on one of the Facebook groups I'm in. Is that the character of Lucifer Morningstar is part of Earth 666, where he actually has a bar, and he was in the DC. Lucifer. So there's different Earths and different stories, and there's an amazing amount of stories that come from different Earths. What is canon, what is not. What would be canon for comics is if they have multiple planets or timelines, what is the main one for this story you're usually reading. But for DC Marvel, that's just a whole other demon I'm not tackling.
I look at WandaVision, how many times Mephisto was mentioned as the devil being the main protagonist.
Oh, yeah.
And doesn't even show up.
I don't even think Marvel
has the rights to it.
No. I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember if they have a Satan. I don't think they do in Marvel. Okay. They have 8 people, like 6 or 8 people that control portions of hell. Like Mephisto, Helen, etc. Different characters control like portions of hell, but I don't think they actually have a devil. Anywho, graphic novels are more like I'd say, besides the giants of the industry, you can get a few people where they have it. It's more literature based, where it's few pictures, a lot of writing, or vice versa. It can be more amateur hour in the sense that you have people that made their own work. It's not necessarily terrible. You just don't hear about it because they're competing against the giants, and they don't have the ability to pay for as much advertisement. And their story may also just not be able to keep up. But there's definitely some great graphic novel content out there. And for manga, that could just be, again, a long conversation, manga, manhwa. I'd recommend for anyone that is interested. There's a lot of great stories you can check out based on what genre. If you're looking for romance, guy, girl, girl, dinosaur, robot, literally there's a story for it, whatever you want to find. And there's adult content, there's child content, there's tons of fighting, there is mystery, political intrigue, all kinds of different stories out there. And I'd even argue that there is probably, I'd say like American westernized comics have started long before the amount of manga there is now. Manga is probably more popular for how much it's being pumped out in regards to the current quantity production compared to the current production of comics being printed out. And so if people are interested, definitely check it out. If you don't know what you're interested in, feel free to comment for both Marvel, DC, manga, manhwa, or just any kind of comics. Or if you have any fun ideas, feel free to put that below. Winding down now, let's see, other fun moments. Just gotta be a couple fun things I can mention.
But just to backtrack on what you said, that's what makes it so unfortunate. Like these conventions aren't going on, especially here in Southern California, for people to be able to be exposed to your manga, comics, Comic Cons.
Oh yeah, you can't get exposure. Good point. Yeah, because of COVID.
Anime Expo is on hold. There's usually 4 to 5 big shows every year here in Southern California, and it's nothing for the past 2 years. It's so unfortunate. I know there's been talks about Ontario's Comic Con finally getting something up in December, but who knows what's gonna happen in the next couple months, you know?
Okay. Yeah, hopefully it'll happen. We'll find out. This could also be a good setup for just the world ahead. If we have similar issues again with COVID, just viral infection, etc., contagion, on how people need to get by, just plan ahead for that. And I feel like complaining about lack of comics is a bit of a first world problem, but nonetheless, it has been impacted. And the people that do make a living off it, of course, they get impacted by it, them and their families.
Yep.
And the overall art industry takes a hit. Which the more stuff we have people to cheer them up in these these troubling times is also good. So, what the hell?
Yeah, I had a
And
conversation with a musician today saying of the comparison of like how these movies and stuff, whether it's Marvel DC, they're going straight to streaming. These
yeah, the
artists
HBO
that do
Max.
these artists and stuff that doesn't have those opportunities anymore of being to be exposed to their comics. They go straight to movie or straight just to on the back porch in a comic book shop. It's
They have to
unfortunate.
go to YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to just stay local or try to branch out to YouTube. That's all they can do. Which yeah, then they have to bend the knee to the king of the internet, YouTube and Google, because Google owns YouTube.
Yep.
Let's see other fun moments I can think of comics. For anyone that argues that Superman versus Hulk stuff like that, I will instantly burst the bubble. Here we go. Reality warpers trump everything.
Hmm.
So that's basically what they talk about in Marvel, which is an Omega level mutant, is a mutant that can affect the entire universe or multiverse by using their powers or abilities. An individual, and it's not necessarily just a mutant, but it's an individual who can do that. So you could say like, oh, Superman flies so fast and or punches, infinite mass punch, etc. And Silver Age Superman is the only one I'd argue because he literally had a new ability every book because that was to sell the comic. So he could do all kinds of
Yep.
crazy stuff. And that was the Silver Age comics in general. But a reality warper can just say you don't exist anymore. And one channel, which someone said something really funny, was that Franklin Richards, the son of Reed Richards, he becomes a reality warper. Spoilers. And something he could literally do is like he reads Harry Potter one day, and he's like, "This is cool. I want this to be a thing." There, and he just makes Harry Potter. The entire world, everything, he's always existed, all wizards and everything that always existed, because Franklin just willed it into existence. You can control space and time and do whatever you want with reality. You are a living infinity gauntlet, so to say. So that's what a reality warper is. So he could just make Hulk not exist, make Superman not exist. He could do anything they can do, and he can make himself into them or stronger. And and there's many reality warpers. And so they basically trump everybody else. And there's a lot of crazy stories of reality warpers or people bending the laws of physics or magic, etc. Let's see other fun things. The character Squirrel Girl fought Doctor Doom, Wolverine, a few other characters, and won. Her fight with Doctor Doom was pretty funny because she just sent a shit ton of squirrels running all over him, and he just couldn't kill the squirrels fast enough or catch them, and she just kind of sat back as well and started slapping him. And so at one point in a Deadpool comic, she's trying to get Deadpool out of her house, and Doctor Doom just straight up lets her use a time machine. He doesn't want to, but he just doesn't want to deal with fighting her because he won't be able to beat her, and it's really silly. I think Wonder Woman owns a llama or something, or a pet giraffe that she doesn't really talk about, but she has got like a pet llama or camel. It's like has a funny name too. Her and
Doesn't
Batman are trapped in another
X-23 have
dimension.
a funny pet too? Whether it's like a
I
monkey or
I think
or s-
so.
it's either that or a squirrel or beaver, some odd animal.
Yeah, I can't quite recall. There's just so much. I don't remember all the X-Men antagonist villains like private lives. Uh, so Logan Wolverine was the 10th Super Soldier Project. So he is in that relation related to Captain America because again it's the Super Soldier Project. So
Mhm.
Captain America was test number one. In regards
So
to the Weapon X program.
yeah, so does that, since Wolverine's number 10, does that make him why he's Weapon X, as X is a
Yeah,
Roman
it's literally
numeral?
just 10. Yep, that's
Oh,
it. That's why he's
interesting.
Weapon X.
I learned
Yep.
something today.
And you can go through, you can use that to find all the other characters that have been part of the Weapon X program. I just
Like
call it
Omega
Weapon X
Red.
program. Yeah, yeah. To like Omega Red to simplify it, but again, there's characters like Omega Red, Lady was it Deathclaw or Deathstrike? No, Lady Deathstrike,
Yes.
and other characters that
Sabretooth.
are cool, and Sabretooth. Um, let's see, Marvel. Man, there's just I kind of don't want this to go on for another 10, 15 minutes, but if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to throw it in here, or feel free to tell me I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I prefer if you explain, because I would love to get in discussion, or I can fix something I said later on in revision. Is there anything you think is cool, interesting comics, funny moments, or stuff you enjoy? I'd have to say my favorite character is the Flash. I don't think he's the best by any means, but a lot of cool
Yeah,
stuff.
Flashpoint.
Yeah, Flashpoint though. Particularly Barry Allen. Barry Allen's my homeboy. But there's also so many different Flashes. And my favorite comic story is probably Blackest Night. But my favorite comic line is probably the Deadpool comics. It's just so wacky. So much stuff happens. How about you, man? Do you have any funny stuff you want to bring up, or favorite characters and whatnot?
Right now my favorite storyline is Death and Wolverine and Return of Wolverine.
Ooh, good
Yeah, it's
choice.
more of that series is like Wolverine's living so long that he's seeing everyone he loves just die, and that's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
I never thought of someone who would live forever be so miserable, and for him to finally find his peace in death, and then just those rumblings in the comics of, oh, is Wolverine back? This and that, and you find him with an Infinity Stone, and then the whole storyline of the Weapon X program trying to hunt down Wolverine. Everyone's just trying to find what's going on with Wolverine. Even with Kitty Pryde just trying to see in that whatever he got bolted into, he's not inside that his Odin Case tomb anymore. So
Yeah.
definitely check out Death of Wolverine and Return of Wolverine. They're probably like a good 4 or 5 years apart from each other. Gave the universe time to settle that Wolverine is dead, even though you did get Old Man Logan and the universe crossings with those. But I really enjoyed that storyline. Another interesting storyline that I really enjoyed is Batman and Catwoman's potential marriage that almost,
Oh, that was so good. It didn't happen though.
yeah, that's what I said, almost happened. And it's just so
Um,
tragic that Bruce Wayne himself is finally finding peace,
yeah.
and it makes the Joker be the one to, of course it's the Joker, to make sense of it all, that none of them, Catwoman, Batman, or the Joker, can exist without each other. So
So for
it was
people,
heartbreaking.
yeah. So for people who didn't know, something Patrick's just talked about. Two things I want to stop on is that he was talking about Wolverine's encased tomb. That's not so much of a spoiler as the fact that if you look at the graphic art, which is beautiful on the cover for one of the comic issues, you actually see it on the comic issue cover
Hmm.
of Wolverine encased in adamantite or whatever, and he's dead. And spoiler again, they bring him back later, but there's different comic storylines of where he becomes Old Man Logan, and he just takes no shit from anybody, and it's hardcore Tarantino, and it's awesome.
Kills all the
Definitely check it
Hulks.
out. It is a big war against Hulk too, and it's effing epic. It's wonderful. And the other one you're talking about is the when Batman was with Catwoman, and again they don't get together. And you actually hit it up before I was going to say it, which is the fact that like they need to coexist, and that's one of the reasons that Catwoman also left him at the altar, unless I'm
That's
mistaken.
all. Yep.
Because she's like, because I love you and everything, but who you are, I actually do support it, but I know it's such a core thing that you're being, and of course I'm just paraphrasing, that you need to be Batman, and it won't be able to work between us because there will be issues. With regards to you being Batman, it's a bigger priority, and there's no bad blood. There's no bad blood. It just leaves the reader and Bruce Wayne feeling shitty because
Yep.
it's just a hard choice that had to be made, and it's part of making it such a good story because it's not all happy endings. It's not just a Mary Sue story. There's shit that happens, and not everybody wins.
Yeah.
So it's
And you get
very
so
good.
you get really emotionally involved with these characters throughout time, and you just want them to find some happiness out of all the turmoil they go through, and just to see Batman go through this roller coaster, just like all of us in the real
Just to
world.
be
And
taken away at the end.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's very real. There was nothing magical there. Nothing at all. It's something that could happen in the everyday setting, and it's not something people always want to confront. And that's what makes just storytelling a beautiful art and comics beautiful in that regards. Is there anything else, Patrick? Otherwise, I think I was probably end it here. Because actually, did you say what your favorite character? What was your favorite characters?
of all time, it's gotta be Wolverine. It has to be.
Wolverine.
Those
Okay.
'90s X-Men shows. That's what I grew up
Are we
on.
talking like Feral Wolverine, Civil War, the yellow blue jumpsuit Wolverine? Who are we
Yep,
talking about?
not '90s
Oh,
Wolverine.
really?
'90s Wolverine. It has to be.
I think while I can't say that's my favorite art look for him, I enjoy that that's probably the most pissed he ever has been.
Yeah.
Like when you see him in the media or in video games, he's always so angry in that outfit. He's angry other times too, by all means. But he's Wolverine. But like he just seems like an extra layer of pissed, and I just didn't know if it's because he's in that outfit.
Yeah, that yellow brings out the anger in him, I guess. But yeah, that '90s Wolverine, just that whole storyline, in love with Jean Grey, and just never being able to get the woman
Oh
and everything like
yeah.
that, and
The
it's
the
just
weird triangle with him, her, and
yeah,
Cyclops.
yep. And that whole storyline, just my disdain for Cyclops being the leader of the X-Men, and for all these years later, um, kind of a spoiler of Wolverine and Cyclops helping each other out to survive. So
Oh yeah, and them both coming to respect and understand each other.
yep.
Awesome, thanks for sharing, man. So there should be another podcast in about next week. Don't know what the topic is yet. This one was a little bit abrupt. I'll be editing and throwing this on YouTube. Yeah, we'll cut it here.
All right.
Give me a
Thanks for having
second.
me.
Free stick around. Just give me a second.
Of course.